For 2024, the MX-5 gets a major update, and we've already driven the Roadster, but this is the RF. Some people think the retractable hardtop is a sacrilege, others absolutely love it. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, this ND3 generation of the MX-5 is a bit of a groundbreaker. It's probably the most significant improvements to satisfy drivers like us, and this is the RF, which we haven't tried yet. And before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at this in a little more depth. For 2024, the updates for the MX-5 are significant. Some are subtle, but in total, they make this ND3 something very special, and it will go down in history as one of the best MX-5s you could ever buy. What you need to know about the ND3 is there are new head and tail lamp designs, new wheels, a larger infotainment touchscreen, there are suspension and steering refinements, a DSC track mode, and all manual MX-5s get the new asymmetric limited slip diff. Under the hood is still a 2-liter inline-4 naturally aspirated, makes 181 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 151 pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. This is a 6-speed manual, which is the right way to spec your MX-5. It is, of course, rear-wheel drive. This also has kinematic posture control. We have an episode on that. You can check that out. And now for 2024, there is a DSC track mode, which is very helpful if you track your MX-5. Steering is electrically assisted, slightly revised from 2023. Suspension's based around double wishbones at the front, multi-link at the rear. This one has the sport suspension, which means it gets Bilstein dampers. It also has the Brembo brakes, which are multi-piston calipers at the front. Wheels and tires on this one are the forged BBSs. They're 17s with 205 wide Bridgestones. Curb weight of this MX-5 RF is 2,470 pounds. Keep in mind that's 102 pounds heavier than the Roadster. If you add the automatic, that adds 45 pounds to curb weight. Static weight distribution of this MX-5 RF is 51% front, 49% rear. And on this channel, we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Some say the RF is a bit of a sacrilege, but others say that this is just a different way to experience the joy that the MX-5 brings. Fun fact, did you know RF stands for retractable fastback? Yes, indeed it does. I learned something new today. There are some subtle improvements here in the cabin, but the big ones are really the big infotainment screen. It is a touch screen now, so you can use this controller, but I prefer to reach out and touch the screen. I use it on Apple CarPlay, which you can use wired or wirelessly. And speaking of wired, there are USB-C connectors only here in the cabin. The good thing is Mazda hasn't messed with the important stuff, so the fundamental seating position, your relationship to the pedals and the steering wheel are spot on. I'm just set up perfectly here, nice and low on the floor. Decent amount of adjustment in the steering column, great shape and size to the steering wheel as well. And then I've got a great relationship to the 3 pedals. And I have to say, after not driving an MX-5 for a few months, getting back behind the wheel is an absolute joy. This is probably the best pedal box available in any car in 2024. The reason I say that is as soon as I got behind the wheel of this RF, I'm right at home. I was heel and toeing like it was just yesterday. I drove an MX-5. The pedal layout is spot on, and when it comes to heel and toe, this is just a natural. Yes, we have probably the best heel and toe episode on YouTube, so if you need to refine your technique or want to learn all about it, links here, links below. Please check it out. I think you'll find it very educational. Like many of the updates for 2024, I think the gauge cluster has received a little bit of an update. It's primarily analog, which is just fantastic. fantastic. Exactly what you want in a car like this. In terms of spaciousness, well, you know the deal. It's an MX-5, so your passenger will be quite comfortable. Don't plan on bringing any large pieces of luggage. Right now in the trunk, I've got my camera bag, which is a carry-on size piece of luggage. Got my backpack and my tripod, and that's basically all that's going to fit there. Here in the cabin, there's little bits of storage, but not very much. Sure, you can put a cup holder here, one back here, and this lockable compartment small enough that you can put a few things in there. But yes, storage, whether it's in the trunk or inside the cabin, is fairly limited. In terms of visibility, I've got a couple of things to talk about, and that is in consideration of this RF's roof structure. Forward visibility, awesome. Rearward visibility with the mirrors, awesome. You can adjust the mirrors properly so that blind spots are indeed a myth. But when it comes to, using your peripheral vision to see in either direction, what we've got is the RF's roof structure in the way, which isn't present in the Roadster. And in consideration of that, I don't know if it's coming through, but in the RF, there is a bit of additional wind noise coming from up here when the roof is open, and that is the one downside for me. So you can open and close the RF's roof with this switch here at speed when you're driving, but it's limited to about 6 miles an hour, which is great for Toronto rush hour traffic. Now, in terms of acceleration, this is quick enough. It'll do 0 to 60 in, 5.5, 6 seconds, depending on what you want to do. And that is just fine, but straight line acceleration is really not what the MX-5 is all about. What the MX-5 is all about is this sort of thing, putting down power as you exit a corner. Just brilliant in that regard. And the new limited slip diff really helps. All of the improvements for the 2024 model year add up to something that is much greater, much more impressive, and much more satisfying to drivers like us versus the ND2. Sure, if you look at the basic specs, there's not much of a difference, but all of these improvements, especially that limited slip diff, make this much more satisfying to drive. Heel and toe, not difficult at all. This is just brilliant. It is so natural here to heel and toe, shift up and down the box. This gearbox is one of the best gearboxes you can buy today. This gearbox works perfectly in harmony with this engine, and then with the diff, no trouble putting down power anytime you want it. Whether it's in low grip conditions and you're sliding this around a little bit, or where there's a lot of grip, putting down power gets to each of the rear wheels anytime you like. And as you know, kinematic posture control is standard on all 2024 MX-5s, and it just enhances the overall driving experience. Yeah, it is quick enough and allows you to shift quickly as well. Almost as quick as a dual clutch. No, just kidding. It is easy to deal with this in performance driving situations. Mazda talks about this Jinba Itai concept, and that is the idea of horse and rider as one. And there's not a better Mazda that demonstrates that concept than this MX-5, and that even includes the drivetrain. It works in harmony with the driver. Forget about the chassis and how it communicates. Just this drivetrain alone is a harmonious driving experience from the 2-liter, from this gearbox, and then the way the new diff works, it just works perfectly in harmony, as it should. And I have nothing but good things to say. Just pile on all of the superlatives you want. As we know, there are some refinements to the steering and the suspension, but what we've got in this RF is just a wonderful package, because we do have the Brembo brakes, we've got the lighter forged BBS wheels and the Bilstein dampers. And as much as I enjoy driving a base MX-5, there is an argument in favor of these performance options, being the forged BBS wheels, the Bilstein dampers, and the Brembo brakes, because they're all just slightly better than what you can get in the base spec. Not to say that the base spec MX-5 is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but for someone like me and for someone like you who enjoys driving, there's just a little bit better body and wheel control with these dampers and the lighter weight wheels, and there is a subtle amount of better control, feel, and modulation with the Brembo brakes, and it's enough for me to choose this kind of specification over a base spec car, because it's something you can't duplicate in the aftermarket. This has been thoroughly engineered and validated and works perfectly, and this, if anything, subscribes to the entire concept of driver's car. While we're driving in a straight line, let's talk about ride quality, and it is quite good. Both you and your passenger are going to be very, very comfortable here. It's not overly stiff, and that is fundamental to Mazda's philosophy for all of their cars, not just the MX-5. They want the suspension to work, and it is best demonstrated in this MX-5. For a sports car, there is a decent amount of suspension travel, but that is a good thing, because that communicates to the driver what this car is doing. And because chassis feel is so good, you know exactly what's going on at each corner. It's almost like you can reach out and touch the contact patch. MX-5 haters think that this car is associated with a certain type of driver, but I'm here to tell you anybody can enjoy an MX-5. Time to find some corners, don't you think? Yes, indeed. And here we go. Just brilliant turn in. Love the body roll here because it communicates what's going on with the chassis. Upshift to third, brake. Love the control I have with that brake pedal. Turn in, there's a little bit of a heel and toe downshift in there. Power out of the corner, so absolutely natural. Love this, and this is one of the worst roads we drive on, and because the suspension is compliant, it just soaks up all of these bumps, keeping the tires in contact with the road. All right, let's give these corners another go here. There's just enough grip with these tires. I don't think you really need any more tire here. And here's a great illustration. On the brakes, downshift, pick up the throttle, and because this is off camber, we get just a little power on oversteers. Absolutely perfect. And this car just drives so naturally, so intuitively. It is a direct connection of me, between me and this car and the road. It's an extension of my hands and feet. It is incredible in terms of its harmony. MX-5 haters say a lot of things. It's too small, it's underpowered, whatever, I don't care. If you don't enjoy driving an MX-5, you definitely don't know how to enjoy life. How do you spec yours? Well, there are some important considerations, and the first thing you need to know is that in the United States you cannot get this specification because Mazda Canada, Mazda US product plan their MX-5s a little bit differently. What you are looking at is sold crystal red metallic paint with tan Napa leather interior. Now keep in mind, because these are not product planned, the same prices for the US are approximate. Base price in the US is about $37,010 plus $595 for the paint is roughly $37,605 in the US. In Canada, this is exactly $45,000 base plus $500 for the paint plus $400 for the tan Napa leather plus $3,600 for the Grand Sport package for a total as tested of $49,500, making this the most expensive MX-5 you can get in Canada, and these prices are before freight and local taxes. In the US, the RF Club seems to be the way to go because you can get the Bilstein dampers and Brembo brakes and all the cool performance options. In Canada, there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of options, so you can get a top spec RF with all of the performance options and all of the luxury options, and that of course is predicated on the fact that you spec your MX-5 with a manual. For drivers like us, the most important consideration is the gearbox. If you get the automatic, it means you don't get the limited slip diff, and you can't get the Bilsteins either, so keep that in mind when speccing your MX-5. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'd always get mine in Sol Crystal Red metallic paint because this is just brilliant on the MX-5. My verdict, well, let's start with fuel consumption because it's kind of funny. This is a sports car. It shouldn't get good fuel consumption, but indeed it does. I think we're averaging 32 miles per gallon on this drive. It is just incredible. And it's one of the fun byproducts of driving an MX-5. I don't know how they do it because I don't ever drive slowly and I love using the throttle in an MX-5. So how I'm able to get about 32 miles per gallon, I have no idea, but I'll take it. As for the rest of this MX-5, in terms of the driving experience, well, this is just brilliant. It just turns every drive into a spirited adventure of motoring. It is so good in every driving condition and changes direction unlike anything else, whether that's braking, turning the steering wheel, going through corners, lane changing, whatever the case is. As for all of the updates for 2024, it makes this the best MX-5 to date. As for this RF, well, for me, it is not my choice. The MX-5 should be a roadster as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I understand why people buy the RF versus the roadster. Better weather protection, better security, and those are all very rational choices, but we are talking about a sports car here, and a sports car is not rational. If you want rational, buy a minivan. This is not that. So as far as I'm concerned, the MX-5 should be the roadster. But to be fair, this RF is just another way to experience the joy of the MX-5 if you do need a hardtop, and that I understand. But for me, I would only get my MX-5 as a roadster. You know, there's this secret that I think every MX-5 owner knows, and that is when you drive your MX-5, it can be like treating the roads like it's your own personal racetrack because the limits are all very reasonable. It's not like we're driving a supercar or a big muscle car with lots of tire. There's a modest amount of tire, modest amount of power and torque, but then we've got incredible chassis balance, and this car communicates so well that you really can play with this at and around its limits very comfortably, very confidently. And again, I think that's a secret that only MX-5 owners know. This car is so lightweight, it feels like you're driving on air. No, I'm just kidding, but it is lightweight. It is so utterly responsive, unlike any other car you can buy today. And all credit is due to Mazda for still building an MX-5 and still improving these things. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2024 Mazda MX-5 RF. Hope you liked this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications like this, and as always, sharing is caring. So please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Mazda MX-5s. If you've hung around this long, well, have a look at our first drive episode of the ND3 from a few months ago. There's some great content there from an interview we did with Dave Coleman from Mazda. Definitely check that out. It'll also link to the longer form interview we did with Dave. And if you're an MX-5 or Mazda enthusiast, that is a must watch.